We recorded this before Pizza Levels took over the internet with his flying game. But more people are building games. And to build games, you typically need a game engine. So I went scouring Reddit to see what's out there, and one game engine kept coming up again and again.
Raylib is exactly what you're looking for, OP.
Not enough people have heard of Raylib. Fantastic wrapper over OpenGL and really simple to use.
Raylib has everything: features, supports, portability, awesome community. On top of that, Ramon is a genuinely great guy.
Today we're interviewing Ramon, creator of Raylib, and yes, he is a great guy. As of February 2025, Raylib is the second most popular open source game engine behind Godot. It has 25,000 GitHub stars, 13,000 Discord community members, and more than 8,000 people in its subreddit. Alongside his open source work, Ramon has built several paid Raylib tools, and they're quickly replacing his income from lecturing and consulting. In this episode, we'll find out how Raylib started as a teaching project.
I wanted to teach actual programming. Tried several tools and none of them was easy enough. So I decided to create a small library.
And why not making assumptions about previous knowledge can be a huge advantage.
They just want to put things on the screen as fast as possible and as simple as possible.
For the first time, we get an excuse to watch someone playing games. So let's see a game that was built with Raylib, Cat and Onion. And by the way, this bit is best with video, so if you don't have video, I'm sorry, maybe skip to the first 8 minutes and you won't miss that much.
At some point, you travel with a flying onion. That it's kind of The game itself, it's interesting.
Wait, so how does the onion come into play? Like the flying onion?
The onion actually, it's one of the friends of the cat.
Oh, okay. Of course.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
You can talk with the inanimated objects that you find in the game, like this tree, and you keep talking with different objects that you find in the game, that they were all the characters, and it's an interesting story.
And so would they use Raylib for like the dialogue there?
Yeah, well, actually, they use Raylib for everything, to manage the inputs, the drawing, draw the sprites, draw the text, draw the dialogues. Raylib it's a C library that allows you to put graphics on a screen, but also manage the inputs and also manage the audio in the game. They use Raylib as the base technology to do the drawing, and then over it, they implemented all the game logic for everything that needs to be done. Like, for example, for the dialogues, they probably implemented their own dialogue system where you manage the text, but at the end, you end up drawing that text on the screen inside a box with some colors, and that's where Raylib comes into play to simplify that process.
So if they're drawing on the screen, you, like in Raylib, you just give like the points that you want it to be.
Yeah, in Raylib, you got, for example, a function that it's called draw text, and you just provide the text that wants to be drawn, the position on the screen, the color of the text. You have another function that is draw rectangle. When you load, for example, for the cat, you load the texture, and then you have a load texture, and then you have a function that is draw texture, and you can define where, in which position it's drawn, how it's drawn.
Okay, super, super cool. I wanted to show just one funny thing in this game if anyone's watching rather than listening.
Actually, you got some achievements that you have to, as I remember, you have to find some pictures.
Yeah.
It's flying on the onion.
There was a bit where like it just pops up with like a picture of a real cat. I don't know if I can find it again.
Yeah.
If it was in this video.
Yeah, it's flying in the onion.
Oh wait, it's flying. Oh wait, that's the onion.
Hey, here. That was the point. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Oh wow. It's like a rocket ship onion.
Yeah. The onion, it's like a rocket ship. Yeah.
Okay. So, and Raylib is powering this rocket ship onion. Okay. That's what you do.
Kind of. Actually, it helps to draw the sprite for the onion, and it also helps drawing the sprite for the fire in the rocket. Now it's drawing the sprite, the text. Yeah, really, helps the developer to draw everything that needs to be drawn in a very easy way.
Okay, cool. What is the hardest bit about game development typically?
If you are trying to do a 3D games, it's a bit harder because usually you need to deal with some math for the position in the space of the elements, and sometimes you have to do math to calculate distance and to calculate, for example, if it's a shooting game and you shoot, you have to cast a ray, a mathematical ray that it's aligned in a direction, and you have to calculate all the math, how that ray collisions with a plane to calculate where the bullet hits, and these kind of things. Usually in a 3D game, complexity it's a bit higher. But in this small game, that it's actually a very small game, and it's really nice, and it's just 2D. The level of complexity is not that high. Actually, one person in just a couple of months can make and release this game, starting from zero. Well, just picking up Raylib to draw graphics on the screen. And just one person can create all the logic for the game, all the mini games, all the features required, all the graphics. That's a game made by one person. Wow. In just a few months, and it has been released on Steam. Actually, I play it on my Steam Deck, and it worked. It was super, super good. And it's a short game. It's just about a couple of hours, but it's a very fun game and very nice, and it has a nice story. And yeah, I really enjoy it. I recommend it.
That's amazing. Okay, so Cat and Onion. Everyone go play Cat and Onion. This episode is brought to you by WorkOS. If you're building a dev tool, at some point, your customers are going to start asking you for enterprise features. WorkOS offers you single sign-on, skim provisioning, and audit logs out the box. WorkOS is trusted by Perplexity and Vercel, as well as Workbrew, a homebrew management startup that I recently interviewed. I just told Mike that WorkOS is the sponsor, and this is what Mike said.
Yeah, so WorkOS isn't paying me any money for this. I pay WorkOS money for this, but WorkOS is like one of the best developer tools I've ever used. It's the documentation and the experience with building with them is so good. Like I initially was almost like, okay, this seems expensive, but then I built an integration with them in about 20 minutes that I had spent 2 days bang my head off the wall trying to build it directly with Okta. And then with WorkOS, I then have like many SSO providers like supported instead of just one. So yeah, like for me, WorkOS is one of the nicest developer experiences I've encountered in the last like 5 years, probably. And it's not surprising because a bunch of the developer team are ex-GitHub and therefore very good at their job.
Go to workos.com to learn more. So you started Raylib like, it was like 12 years ago now, right? Like something like that.
11 years and a half.
11 years ago. 11 years and a half. Yeah. But you were a lecturer at the time, right? Or maybe you still are.
Yeah, at the moment I'm a lecturer. I work at the university at this moment.
Raylib initially was for the students, right?
Yeah. Raylib initially was created for education. Actually, I had to teach video games programming to art students with no knowledge on programming. And I decided to create it as a simple tool. I wanted to teach actual programming. I tried several tools and none of them was easy enough. So I decided to create a small library that was very, very intuitive in the naming of functions and everything, like draw rectangle, draw circle, escape press, draw texture, play sound, this kind of very natural language naming for everything, that reading the names you can guess what that instruction is actually doing. And it worked super good. Students who are very engaged with the library. Actually, some students created amazing things in just one course. That the course was like 40 or 50 class hours. So I decided to keep improving it and adding more functions, improving the existing ones, and in a kind of organic way, the project start growing and growing, improving, and actually at some point I was working almost full time in that project. Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't intent. You weren't setting out to take on, Unity and all these huge players. You just were like, I want to build something simple for my students.
Actually, it was part of the syllabus. I started with Raylib, that I think it was super good to understand the basics, understand programming, but then the students moved to other higher level engines or tools like Unity. But with that basic concepts, when I feel that when they jump into a big engine like Unity or Unreal, they have very solid understanding of how things work in the inside.
Yeah.
In some ways, they can be more productive and understand better how the engine manages things internally. So they say, oh, okay, so if we do that in that way, if we configure the texture that has to be drawn on the screen in this specific way, it will be more efficient, it will be faster, it will be more performant.
Yeah.
So they understand how things work in the inside, because they have seen a very bare bones library before, seeing how those things work in the inside.
For like Cat and Onion, for instance, why do they prefer to use Raylib versus Unity when they use Raylib?
Because I think it's very enjoyable. I mean,
That's awesome.
Raylib is intended to be simple and to make programming and game development enjoyable in a way that usually big engines maybe can do that at the beginning, but when you go into a big project, you have to track a lot of things. You need a lot of understanding of how things work. Sometimes the engines do not help the developer in a way that the developer thinks. Like the developer maybe wants to do the things in a way, but as you are using an engine, you have to do the things in the way the engine is expecting those things to be done. And you have kind of lots of constraints when you are using an engine. And sometimes that can be very frustrating for developers. Raylib, in the other side, it's very small, very low level. So it just gives you the bare bones of what you need to draw things on the screen. The developer has full control over the game structure, how structure things, how organize the code, how create things. And I think it's very enjoyable for some developers working this way, because they had that feeling that they have full control over everything. And I think that's very appealing for many developers.
I don't know much about Unity, but when things have like a lot of abstractions, it's like when it works, it's great. But then when it doesn't work, you're just like, I have no idea why this doesn't work.
That's exactly the point. The big engines give you a super high level of abstraction, and also tries to cover a wide range of possible games. If you're using Unity, maybe you're doing a card game, racing game, first-person shooter. I mean, they try to cover all the range of possible games. And sometimes it adds a level of abstraction that makes things more complicated than they could be. In the other side, if you're using a low-level library that barely gives you anything, gives you somewhat full freedom, because you have to build everything over it. Also, there is another complexity, because you have to build over it. But for many small games, you don't have to build that much over it, like this game, Cat and Onion. At the end of the day, you are just checking inputs, drawing sprites on the screen, playing some sounds, managing the change from one screen to another screen, or from one state in the game to another state. That it's something that it's really manageable for a developer.
So I guess you're focused on like kind of indie game developers right now.
Well, I actually created Raylib. There was not a specific focus. Maybe the focus was education. Yeah, that was the focus at the time. But what I've seen in the following years has been Raylib being used not only in education, but also for many indie developers with more experience or less experience, but also being used for small tools development, simulation, kind of investigation to do some kind of a quick visualization of data. So it's shown a very wide range of applications. It's really versatile. in some way, because it does not have to be focused only on video games. Raylib is giving you a tool to draw things on a screen, read input if you need the inputs, and yeah, mostly that's it. So you can use it for visualization, also for small tools development like audio trackers, emulators. Okay, I saw Raylib being used in many different ways, and actually myself, I've been using Raylib for the last few years for tools development.
So maybe that's a good transition, actually. The core of Raylib is like an open source project that's completely free.
That's it.
Yeah, and then you have some tools that you've built like that kind of help with using Raylib, or like kind of related, right? That you sell.
Well, actually, the tools are used as a library, as a framework, Raylib, that is the core technology. But within the years, I've been creating like other technologies over it, like a set of technologies, libraries. And then with all those technologies, all those base technologies are always free and open source, I've been building tools. And the tools are built with Raylib, but they have a lot of tools with different intention. There are tools to do things that are usually required in the video games development. For example, one of the tools is for packaging sprites. When you have, for example, for the cat, all the animations are a set of sprites. And for example, you have like, let's say 20 images. You want to pack all those images into a single image with all the small images packaged into a single one in a specific way and with a specific configuration. For example, one of the tools I created and I sell is a tool to package images that let you not only package the images using a packaging algorithm, but also tweak some configurations like the separation between the images, the padding, the margin, the spacing. Another tool, for example, it's an audio generator. In games, you need to generate sounds for the jump, for the pickup coins, for the power up, and this kind of sounds, explosions. I created a tool that generates sounds just using parameters in a procedural way, modifying the audio of the sine wave and these kind of parameters. So in this way, I've been created a set of tools that can help other developers make games, but that's independent of the engine the other developers are using. Those tools work in the same way if they are using Raylib, they are using Unity, Godot, Unreal, or any other engine. The tools are standalone, independent, and self-contained.
Your brand and the kind of like awareness from Raylib engine, drives traffic essentially to these tools, but they're not like, you don't need those tools. They can help you.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. At some point, I saw that Raylib was getting very, very popular, and I've always been interested in the side of more that in the side that games development that I also love. I was interested in the tools development side, and I did I got that technology that I think it's quite solid and. It gives me I know it very good, and it's an in-house technology. So yeah, that's amazing actually. Why not use it to build a bigger project over it, a bigger commercial project over it, developing small tools and selling them. And then I also thought, okay, I'm a solo developer at the moment, so I'm very limited. Let's try building different small tools focused on the games industry, trying to put them on the market as fast as possible and see which ones are the ones that sell the most and work better. So the ones that work better, I keep improving them and growing them and updating them. And yeah, that's it.
That's super cool. So you just put them out there. How do you launch these? Do you send out I know you've got a big Discord community.
Well, actually, I have to say that I'm not good, and I'm very good at promoting. Yeah, I'm not that good. But the way I promote it's within the Raylib communities. As I also maintain the Raylib core project, and it keeps growing, and it has some big communities around it. It has a big Discord community with over 13,000 people, a big Reddit community. Has a YouTube channel. Well, I have different social networks. every time I release a new tool or an update for the tools, I promote them within the Raylib community and all its social networks. So in some way, it keeps, in the tools help growing more the core Raylib project, but also as the core Raylib project keeps growing, it helps increasing the visibility of the tools.
And I know the Discord community and the community is something that when we spoke last time, I think you're quite, proud of. I think you've put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah.
Could you talk a bit about like how you have managed to cultivate this community?
Yeah, actually, in the last few years, I kept spending more and more time on the social networks. Actually, even too much time probably now. Now I set in my mobile phone some limits because. It's true because I was spending like 4 or 5 hours per day, something like that.
It's like a family. Like, why are you just always on Discord talking?
That's it. Yeah, because I especially on Discord, I try to always welcome new members joining, and I try to be always around because that's the Raylib Discord. It's a very important part, maintaining the community and being with the community and helping the community. And I spend a lot of time on Discord trying to welcome people, help people, answer questions, even creating engagement. Like everyone, hey, look at that, what happened? Hey, and I actually got a note that if you are joining the Discord, be aware that here there are everyone tags now and then. So be warned about that.
You will
some
get
people like it, some people don't like it that much. But I try to create all the time this kind of engagement with the community because I think it's very important. And actually, there are many people that get very surprised when they see me on the Discord, welcoming them or helping them. Like, wow, you are the creator and you are here helping me or welcoming me. That's incredible. I haven't seen that before anywhere. So. Yeah, I think that you create a kind of connection with the community. It's important and makes the project grow in many ways.
Yeah, one thing that really impresses me about you is that, lots of things, but you're a solo, founder here. You've had maybe periods where you were spending most of your time on it, but like primarily you've been doing lots of other things at the same time.
Yeah.
And you do the whole thing yourself. You write all the code, you do the community, you do the marketing, you create the tools, you manage the core engine. How do you manage to do all that?
Well, it's easy, Jack. I don't sleep at night, so
you don't sleep at night.
I'm kidding.
Are you just created by Raylib? You're not a human being. You're like you're a sprite created by Raylib.
Yeah, it could be. It would be easier.
Complex sprite.
Now, it's a lot of work, Jack. It's a lot of work, and actually, for the last year or so, everything has grown to a point that it became really difficult to manage. From the Raylib side, I've been very fortunate for the last 2 years or so that I got some great contributors that help with maintenance and help with improvements and really help a lot improving the core library, Raylib. Also, as I said, I've been lucky or not lucky, but somewhat lucky that the community, the Raylib community, it's a great community. I hardly ever had any problem. There is only one moderator that he helps everyone all the time. It's super great. There are other people helping in there. So it's a very great community that does not give problem. But then, for example, for the side of the tools, at the moment I got 11 tools published. I got another for tools that I would like to publish at some moment. But yeah, I feel that this is going out of hands because the amount of work it's super big. And as you said, I'm not doing that full time because I'm auto-financing myself in other ways to be able to keep doing it. So at the moment, I'm lecturing at university, and I'm actually teaching Unity. Irony, but that's it. And
It's terrible. I'm going to teach you it, but you should use Raylib instead.
I also do some consulting work. I collaborate with some companies here in Barcelona. I usually do consulting to indie startup companies. It's difficult to manage everything. It's very difficult to manage everything. But well,
do you have any tips? Do you have any tips for anyone else that's like?
I'm very organized. I'm very organized. For example, I got my. You see, I got always my notebook with everything. I love working on paper, and I try to keep notes on everything, and I try to keep a very good organization. That's one point. Another point is that I also spend a lot of time into automating everything that can be automated. So, for example, for Raylib, every time that you do a commit or you add some change in the library, there is an automatic system that builds the library for multiple platforms in multiple configurations and verifies that everything at least builds okay and there are no errors. When for the tools, for example, I got a template that I use that I keep updating, but I use for all the tools. And when I have to create a new tool, I use that template, and it already set up a full structure for me to start working as soon as possible on the project. I also got tools to help me build other tools. Like imagine like a Figma, something like that help me place all the UI elements and everything, and helps me. Actually, those tools are also built with Raylib.
Wow.
Yeah. For example, I got another tool that helped me build all the imagery for the tools publishing, like banners, icons, images, screenshots, set up some templates. Also, I got a list of procedures to follow every time that I have to publish an update or anything. I got a checklist that I follow, like, okay, update the description, update the README, update the license, update the that, publish in that network, promote in Reddit, promote there. I got a checklist that I try to follow on everything that should be done. So actually, it could be more a point of methodology. But I sleep at night, obviously.
One thing I wanted to ask is like, I don't know if you know, but I think Postgres was like originally
the database.
But I think it was like originally like a university project or something, or like it came out of a university. It does seem like that's actually like a great way to develop something that's like very easy to use and stuff. If you're focusing on students when you're not assuming any knowledge, I guess you're like trying to explain the whole thing.
That's something that I've seen, or I saw in the past with many libraries, that many other game dev libraries or tools assume previous knowledge from the users. They assume, the user will be a programmer and will know everything about programming and would know the specific naming for a graphics device, input system, different names that sometimes people that start from scratch do not know that all that information. They just want to put things on the screen as fast as possible and as simple as possible. And assuming that when you develop a new product, starting in the base, assuming that the user could not have previous knowledge, in my opinion, is a good assumption. Maybe it would be more difficult for you to develop the product, but at the same time, it would be more accessible to more people. I mean, simplicity is key.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people, when they learn, they like to stick with the first thing they learn in a way, right? Like if you really understand Raylib, when you go to build a project, later on, when you have more knowledge, you may still go back to Raylib because that was the one that you learned really well.
And not only is the one, because you can get a lot of more knowledge, but at the end, if you want to do something for fun or for profit, going for the simpler option, it's usually the most appealing one. You can go for complex alternatives and everything, but going for complex alternative just from the starting point is like, wow, okay, let's try and let's see what happens. I need to read all the documentation first, and I need to go into the forums to ask. Okay, it's just that feeling, that anxiety that, okay, that would be hard. If you go to something that it's simple, maybe at some point it will be hard, but at the beginning it will be simple. So I think it helps to start to that first step. I think it's super important.
If you have one piece of advice for someone else who's like working on an open source project, thinking of building a tool, what would it be?
Well, I would recommend starting simple and keep growing it. But another point important, enjoy working on it. When you start an open source project, or when you start working actually in any project, you have to really enjoy what you are doing. Trying to not looking to getting to milestones or shipping it or making money. I mean, it's okay to have those objectives in mind in a future, but I would recommend starting with a project because you truly enjoy that project. Because it would be easier to keep growing it, keep working on it, facing the issues that would come in the way, and then maybe at some point you ship it or not, or if it's open source, you just release and see what happens. But it should be enjoyable, and I think that's super important.
Yeah, maybe we should close out with what's the slogan on Raylib again? A simple and
easy to use library to enjoy video games programming.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks to you, Chuck. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone for listening.